Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again, and today we're going to be checking out Twistmetal 3 and 4 that have just been released on the PlayStation 4 and 5 systems. So let's get right into it. So yes, if you're unaware, if you're just finding this video out for the first time, Twistmetal 3 and 4 just got released on the PlayStation Store, and this is really monumental for every Twistmetal fan out there. Now, I know a lot of people within the fandom are not huge fans of these two games, and I understand that. I personally am. I actually really like 3 and 4, and I think they're very fun, and they're some of the most played games of my childhood. So seeing them be re-released in 2025 is really astonishing, and I'm just happy that more people are being able to get their hands on them. So I have a list of things I'm going to go over in this video. This is basically a review of both of them, but I'm not going to go into the core gameplay of each of these games because, let's face it, they're over 20 years old, and everybody who's anybody that has played these games already knows what they're in for. Now, if you are brand new to the series, you've never played Twistmetal in your life, I do apologize, but there are tons of other reviews of 3 and 4 out there, and these are essentially the same game. It's just ported onto the PlayStation. So if you're curious of, the gameplay ins and outs of 3 and 4, what to expect, you might want to go somewhere else. This is specifically going to be for people who are looking to get them on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 specifically, and if it's worth the money. So yes, speaking of money, these do cost $10 USD if you purchase them separately. That is kind of steep in my opinion for PlayStation 1 titles, but that is the price that Sony has been allocating for the past few years with their PlayStation Classic catalog. So I'm not really too surprised with this price. But yes, if you do purchase them separately, you're spending about 20 bucks total. However, if you do have a PlayStation Premium account, you can get these for free, which is how I was able to play these, and they are included, which is nice, but again, you're paying premium for that price, so they should be free. All in all, the games are fully intact, if you guys are wondering. There wasn't any massive changes that I could see going from the OG version to this ported version on the PlayStation 5. And just so you guys are aware, I am playing this on my PlayStation 5 Pro. So any performance I talk about later, take it with a grain of salt. It might change depending on the system you are using. But yes, as for changes in the actual gameplay, this is Twistmetal 3 and 4 as you loved as a kid or maybe still as an adult. There really isn't anything big here that's different. There was a couple changes we did notice as I was playing these live on stream. If you want to go check out my full VOD, I'll have it in the description below where I go through all of the platinum trophies for both Twistmetal 3 and 4. It was a really good time, and you can see everything in my first reactions there. But yes, the major differences we did find is in Twistmetal 3, the Hollywood sign on the Hollywood level, ironically, has been changed to say Los Angeles. I'm assuming this is due to copyright, or maybe they just didn't want their precious sign being destroyed in 2025. Maybe it has something to do with the wildfires we recently had. I'm not sure. But it is replaced with Los Angeles, and yes, thankfully, it is still destructible. The other big difference in Twistmetal 3 is that the health pickups are now green. Well, at least the regular ones are green, and then the full heals are now orange instead of red. I'm assuming, again, this is probably something to do with copyright or to get them away from the Red Cross label. I'm not really sure. There's a whole thing about that where in video games now you're not allowed to use the Red Cross for heals because apparently it goes against the Geneva Convention. It's a whole thing, and no, I am not exaggerating this. So yeah, the heals are kind of nasty looking. They're green, which I guess if you've never played Twistmetal before, you're probably just going to assume, okay, green means good, green means health. And yeah, I suppose it fits. But somebody who's played these games for years and years, seeing your precious blue heals now looking kind of a dark green, it's not even a bright green, it just kind of makes it look like sickly. I'm not a fan of the look of it, but if it is what it is, I guess I'll leave it alone. In Twistmetal 4, the only major difference is that some of the billboards in the game were completely erased. So the billboards are still there, they're just blank, they're just like a black circle. And this was, of course, due to the copyright because there was actual brands they put in the game. Maybe it was a joke, or maybe they actually had a copyright with them back in the day, I'm not sure, but they are erased here. And the only other notable change is that, sadly, on the Neon City level, the music is removed. So the original iconic Cirrus Time's Running Out has been completely omitted from Twistmetal 4. Thankfully, though, that is the only song out of both games that is different, or at least removed. Every other song is fully intact, both in the intros and throughout all the levels of both 3 and 4. Neon City, once again, is the only one that's different. It's not blank though, they did replace it with the same song you find on Minions Maze in TM4. So if you're a fan of Super Beast, the remixed version, it is also found on Neon City now. But other than that, those are really the major changes. Nothing else has really been altered in any way, shape, or form here, which I think is both kind of a good and negative thing. Now, the reason it's good is obviously it's what we've come to know and love with 3 and 4. If you liked those games back in the day, you're going to enjoy them here. But if you didn't, that's kind of where the negativity comes in. There's nothing changed or to improve the games in 2025. There's no online features. There's no improved physics. There's no improved graphics. There's no improved really anything. It's essentially the same game. Now, yes, there's no improved graphics, but it is upscaled. I mean, you're obviously seeing it a little bit higher quality than you would get on a CRT back in the day. It is upscaled in 4K quality. It runs at a buttery smooth 30 FPS. And there is some settings you can manipulate within the emulator settings itself. And when I say emulator settings, I'm just assuming that's how they're doing this. I have no idea how Sony goes about it, but let's just assume it is an emulator. And within this software, you can actually manipulate the filters, which is pretty cool. So you can add some different looks to the game if you'd like. You can also change the aspect ratio, which is super convenient. So if you're like me, I prefer having it widescreen and fill up the entire screen, but it does add a stretching effect, which is kind of annoying. So if you're not a fan of the stretch effect, yes, you can go in, thankfully, and turn it back to the full screen format so you don't have to worry about those stretch textures. But of course, you will deal with those black bars. So it's up to you, but it's really nice that you can change this on the fly without having to reload the game or anything. You just switch it up and mess around with these different features and different settings on the go. And yeah, like I said, there's no added content either, so you're not going to see extra characters or anything like that, any extra, really anything. It is the same package we got back in the late 90s. I was kind of hoping this was 100% copium, but I was kind of hoping that in Twist Metal 3, they would have included the ability to play as Darkseid and Primeval in this version without having to use a Game Shark. Because if you are unaware, those two characters were fully modeled and playable in Twist Metal 3, but they were only available if you had a Game Shark to essentially unlock them. There's no other way to unlock them within the game, and they don't have an ending movie either, so once you beat the game with these characters, the game just crashes. And that's probably the reason they didn't add it to this version, but all in all, still kind of a bummer that PlayStation 5 players and PS4 players will never be able to play as Primeval or Darkseid. One really cool feature, though, is the rewind feature. This has been synonymous with all the PlayStation classics brought to the PSN store, and I'm glad to see it here with 3 and 4 bars. So the really cool thing with the rewind feature is it's just like save states on any emulator out there, where essentially if you mess up or if you have a situation where you want to rewind time, literally, you click a button and then you can go back as far as, I think, up to like 5 minutes prior to your previous save, quote unquote, and you can just boot right into there without any loading or anything of that sort. And it's really convenient, especially if you want to cheese like a really tough boss or something like that, and you feel like you got cheated by the AI. Because let's face it, back in the day when these games were popular, a lot of developers created their games to be frustrating, to keep you coming back for more. So having these features in today's age is really nice for casual gamers or just people who don't want to deal with those frustrations anymore. So the rewind feature is definitely a very nice bonus. Performance is also much better than on the original hardware. This should probably be obvious. I mean, you're playing it on a brand new PS5 or a PS4, and we're in 2025. So thankfully, yes, the performance is great. I literally had no slowdowns whatsoever with Twist Metal 3. However, with Twist Metal 4, even though, yes, it does run much better than the OG hardware, there's not many slowdowns at all. There was a few rare times when I did notice the frames dip below 30 whenever there were certain situations happening on screen, such as a lot of explosions or Calypso's nuke going off. There are certain things that do cause the game to slow down ever so slightly, but again, it is still much, much better than the original hardware, and it looks a lot better too. And this is running on a PlayStation 5 Pro, so your mileage may vary depending on the system you're using. Trophies, of course, are here, which is nice to see. However, these are just so incredibly easy to obtain. Yeah, if you've never played these games before, it's going to take you a lot longer to achieve these because most of them are just go to this place and find this secret item. But if you've played these games back in the day, you're going to know where all of these things are, and you can literally get all of the trophies within a day's time. It's very easy. The hardest trophy to get for both games is just beating the game 5 times, and that's, of course, easy to do. It just takes time. So I wish that there was somebody that would have went in and actually added some challenging trophies, or at least one or two for OG fans to have something to have a challenge towards. But that's just not the case here. They're very rudimentary. Most people on their first playthrough will get 90% of these trophies completed, and I'm not even exaggerating. So kind of a bummer there, but again, can't really complain because we do have trophies to work towards, and it adds a little bit of extra life to these games, especially for new players of the series. One feature I want to put out there that I've been told about, but take this with a grain of salt because I've not tested it myself. I've been told from a couple different people that it is possible to play these games online with a friend in co-op. And the way to do this, I guess, is you can share your game with PlayStation 5. I don't know if you can do this with PS4, but apparently on PS5 you can share your game online and you can do split screen online with TwistMountain 3 and 4. This is super cool if this is true because it kind of opens up a whole new avenue of being able to have that split screen interactions like you could back in the 90s with your best friend at your side going through a tournament together to meet Calypso. And this is really cool because you don't have to be side by side anymore. You can actually play online with a friend from across the country if you like. And that is really, really neat. I really hope this is true. It's something, again, that I've been told about. I just haven't tested it myself. But if it is true, that is an amazing incentive to probably pick these games up if you want to play with a buddy. If there was a wish list I could add to these TwistMountain 3 and 4 ports on the PlayStation 5, it would be, I hope one day we'll have the ability to fast forward like you can in most emulators. For instance, to skip loading times altogether, or just, I don't know, mess around with the game just by fast forwarding every now and then. That would be a really nice and added feature. Also, I would love to see some more settings with overclocking, for instance. So again, with these slowdowns of TM4, kind of a bummer to see that. It would be really nice if I could go in and overclock it even more, because let's face it, these systems can definitely handle it. I don't see a reason why we don't have these extra options, but it's probably just to make it more simplistic for most users and not to have them go in and break their emulator. So I wish for the advanced user there'd be an advanced option, so to speak, for these type of games to go in and really manipulate the settings to make it the way that you want it to be. And the last point I want to put across here is that this is just amazing to me that Twisted Metal is still being talked about in 2025. 30 years we've been playing Twisted Metal. It's absolutely insane to think that in my entire life, Twisted Metal has been a part of it, and it's still going strong to this day. Well, I say going strong, but in reality, the IP has been pretty neglected by Sony themselves for a long time, up until the television show has launched, and thankfully it's been a success and it was really good. And now, of course, we're getting season 2 coming up very soon. And now we've got 3 and 4 on the PlayStation Store, bars. But it's just really cool that we're still talking about it. New players that have never heard of these games can finally get their hands on them, maybe become fans themselves. And I hope, I pray, that this will be some type of push towards a brand new game coming to the series. All we can do right now is just tell Sony over and over again, please make a new game. We love this IP. We don't want it to die. And yeah, we just want to continue loving Twisted Metal as long as we can. Hopefully these games are successful. Hopefully they sell a lot of copies. Hopefully you guys are enjoying them as much as I have been. I really think they did a wonderful job with these ports. It's just a real bummer that Neon City's soundtrack was removed and that the heels were changed color, but all around it's the games that we've known and loved ever since we were kids, and these are really, really wonderful ports to play even in 2025. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked it, please leave a like to show your support. Subscribe so you don't miss the next stream or the next video upload. We'll hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.